is a great example of why you shouldn't overhype some books. This book is a great reminder for me that I shouldn't always listen to everybody else saying that one book is substantially better than another book by the same author, because I can accidentally start overjudging a book because I'm expecting it to follow through with what everyone says it's going to be in comparison to another book that I love from the same author. Let's do a spoiler-free review for Recursion by Blake Crouch, which I just finished. To start off, I want to make clear that I love Blake Crouch. I read Dark Matter last year, loved this book, and I just finished Recursion. I also enjoyed this book. And I think both of these books are phenomenal. But I remember reading Dark Matter, and then I was told that Recursion is substantially better. A lot of people really liked Recursion even more than Dark Matter. And because they kept telling me this, because I kept hearing this, I really expected a lot more from Recursion, and it wasn't fair to the book. To be completely honest, I would say both of these books are equal in quality. They're both good. If I had to pick a favorite, it would be Dark Matter. But honestly, I think both books did a really great job. I gave Dark Matter 4 stars, and I will give Recursion 4 stars as well. Let's get into my 4-star review for Recursion, what I liked about it, what I had challenges with, and why I say these are equal in their greatness. I really enjoyed Recursion. This is a sci-fi book by Blake Crouch, and it was a good time. It explores the concept of memory and time, and I'm not going to say more than that because that's enough. I feel like because these books were held in comparison repeatedly, I'm going to probably just go back and forth between my experiences with both of these books. Again, this is going to be spoiler-free. For Dark Matter, the reason why I kept it at 4 stars, even though I absolutely loved it and bulldozed through it in 2 days, is because Dark Matter ended and I was like, there's more story here. There's more story. There needs to be more story. I loved it. I thought it was fabulous and wonderful, but there's more to tell in this story. And with the TV show that came out, there is going to be more story because season 1 is just literally the book Dark Matter. But from what I've heard, they are going to have a second season. And so that's going to be an extension off of this original story, which I'm really excited for. But that's coming not in the form of a book, but in a TV show. Recursion, on the other hand, this book is wrapped up by the end. There isn't really a need for another story to extend off of Recursion. I think that this is great. It's self-contained, truly, really. I got to the end and I thought, yep, perfect. We've wrapped it up. There is no need for a second book. If it's going to get a TV show or a movie, that's awesome. But it doesn't need to expand because the story has completed by the end of this book. And that was really nice. Now, like I said, I did bulldoze through Dark Matter in 2 days. This is a book you could probably read in 1 day if you have no other obligations for that day. It is a very fast-paced read and it's just like, what is going on? And really exciting. And I just powered through this because it was so awesome. Recursion, on the other hand, took me multiple days to read. Recursion, I think, took a little less than a week to complete. It's the same length as Dark Matter, but it just was a little bit slower for me to fully want to dive in. I will say the last 100 pages I definitely bulldozed through. Loved it. It was amazing. That was really good. This book is split up into multiple parts. I think there's 5 of them. The first part is pretty long. It takes up a good portion of the first part of this book, and I spent the entire time confused. I didn't know where we were going with things. I didn't know where the story was going. I didn't dislike it, but I was constantly saying in my head, and this is better than Dark Matter, and that was not the right mental idea to be having going into this book. But because everyone said it's better than Dark Matter, I, from the very get-go, started comparing. I think I would have enjoyed that first section if I wasn't doing that. I got to part 2 in this book and I was like, oh, I see it. I see how this is probably just as good and maybe it'll even get better than Dark Matter. I felt it in part 2 a lot and that was nice, but part 2 is really short. And then I went to part 3 and that was the most disappointing part of the book. It's in the middle, it's very short, but I spent that part going, this is where we're going with the story. It's fine, it's not bad, but that's how I emotionally felt. Then part 4 started and I was like, okay, I'm in it. And all the way through part 4 and part 5, I was just like, you got me. My attention is laser focused. This is amazing. Bulldozed through it in a day. Phenomenal. Loved part 4 and part 5. So because of that, because I think that there are just some really excellent elements, I really loved this story, but I do have that slight feeling that happened in the middle of the book, along with the fact that part 1 was just a little bit more confusing than even Dark Matter was for me. That's why I rate this as a 4-star, even though it has a fully self-contained aspect to this book. The other thing about this that I found a little bit challenging was out of these 2 stories, I buy the sci-fi in this book a little more than this. I buy the science in this book a little more than this one. Just to be completely honest, I was able to get on board with it. It's fine. But I could imagine this just way better. I believed it more than Recursion. There were moments where I was like, yeah, this is a book, versus feeling like this is a story. It's something that could happen. There were some moments, not a ton, but some where I was like, yeah, this is a book. Again, I really liked it. I think the biggest thing I want to share with readers is if you're going into Blake Crouch, you can start with either Recursion or Dark Matter. I think both are great. Dark Matter was written before Recursion. Keep that in mind. It's kind of like telling a similar story in a different yet similar way with different yet similar things. It was I felt like I was reading Recursion and I was like, this is reminding me a lot of Dark Matter, just told in a different way, but very similar, but also different. And it's sci-fi. There was a sense of similarity, even though the stories are different. I don't know how I can explain that any better than that terrible explanation, but there really isn't you should read one before the other. I'm sure if you read Recursion first, you'll like Recursion more than Dark Matter, or vice versa. Or maybe you'll come out of it the way I have, which is really, these are equally balanced 4-star books. Genuinely enjoyable, and I liked the characters. I liked where things were going. I liked the overall message and lesson that both of these books come out with. I think they're good. I think they're good lessons. They're short, they're easy. You're not committing to something insane. This will be a quick read, either one of these. So I liked it. I did like Recursion, and I'm glad I read it. And I am going to continue with Blake Crouch. Although unlike with Dark Matter, where I finished this and I was like, I need more Blake Crouch and I need more Blake Crouch right now, I finished Recursion and I am satisfied with the Blake Crouch that I have read so far. It's going to be a while before I return to this author. I'm not really sure what to read next, though. I know the Wayward Pines trilogy has gotten some good reviews, so maybe that's the next book set that I will read from Blake Crouch. But I'm really curious, for those of you who have read Blake Crouch, who have picked up Dark Matter and Recursion, what do you recommend I read next from this author? I am curious. It'll be a minute, but I will come back to Blake Crouch because I did enjoy these. All right, so what's next for me? I'm going back to fantasy with the Zodiac Academy, starting with book 1 in the main Zodiac Academy series, which is The Awakening. This is the original book with the original cover. I really like this aesthetic. I think it's beautiful, but I also know that this was published and there were a lot of comments about how it needed more editing. And so the authors did. They redid the first 9 books, I believe, and republished them. And it is definitely longer. I think this one is like around 430 pages. This is a solid 500-page book. So I am going to be reading the updated edited version for sure for Zodiac Academy. And then I will make decisions on whether or not I'm keeping this series. I will be reading, my intention, as long as I like book 1, is to read the first 3 books. And then, like the common reading recommendation order, I'll be taking a break before going back into the prequel series, The Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac. But we're starting here and we're going to see how it goes. I will keep you updated. But that's all for Recursion. That's all for my next read. Keep reading what you love, and I will see you next time.